little bit late because I don't have a music bed playing as I usually do because I'm about to interview Josh Thorne. We were just listening to his song "Why Did Sion" from the album. Am I saying that right? Why Inside It?
Yeah.
Okay, from the album Desolate. We opened the setup with some Towns Van Zandt, Lungs. After that, Scarlett Johansson doing a Tom Waits cover, Falling Down from the album Anywhere I Lay My Head. Well, here we are.
Here we are.
All right, man. It's good to have you on the show. Thanks for being here this evening.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, dude. And so this album, I listened to it all the way through the other day. I wanted to go back and re-listen to it before the interview all the way through, but I didn't have a chance because, I got busy.
That's life.
But from listening to it the other day, I'll just be upfront with you. I'm not normally a fan of metal music.
Right.
But what I really did like about it is that this album does something I don't think I've ever heard before, and that is a combination of ambient music with metal style lyrics and metal style vocals.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever heard that ever.
I don't know that I've heard it either. You know, to be quite honest with you, Desolate was more of an experiment than anything else because I had in my head what I wanted to do musically. Like everything started to kind of take form in, I want to say, the end of 2014 as far as where everything was going to go. And I had no idea what I was going to do. It was just sort of a trial and error kind of thing. And on New Year's Eve, of all dates, I came here to Whitesburg with the 7 songs that ended up making up Desolate, recorded them with my friend Steven Adams downtown. A friend of mine, Devin Combs, mixed the album, and here it is. And it's definitely, from what you say, it's gotten a lot of similar responses, people not really knowing what to call it or how to really even categorize it. And that wasn't really like the intent of it going into it, but it always makes me happy to know that, people think it's something original. So
yeah,
I'm
I thought it was a really, really original sound. And that was something I was really interested in talking about with you is what was your recording process like for this album?
The recording process was probably the easiest I've ever done in my life, just simply because Steven and I, he's such a good friend of mine. We go back, God, I want to say close to 8 or 9 years now that I've been knowing him. And it was really easy to work with him. He's one of those producers who will tell you, those engineers, producers who will tell you what you need to work on. If he thinks you can do a better take, he'll be the guy going, I think you can do a better one. But at the same time, he's also not pushy, gives you a lot of freedom to experiment, to do different things. Like there were some of those songs that were one take, some of them were multiple takes, but we got it done in one day. We recorded it in one day, and that's kind of what I tend to do with all of my music, just simply because I like to preserve the emotion that I'm feeling at that moment, as opposed to doing some one day and then another, because in a weird way, it's like I lose the consistency of where I'm at.
So you did the whole album in one day?
One day, yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. And okay, so I've got to ask about this because I make music and
Sure,
stuff, and
course.
it takes me my last album took me 2 years. but so you recorded the whole album in one day,
Right.
How much of that did you have it kind of figured out before you went in to start recording what you were going to create, or was it more done like kind of on the fly in one day?
The way I work is usually I will go into it, lyrics are already completed by the time I hit the studio. I try to have a general game plan of how everything is going to work before I go in, and that way once I go in, I can knock everything out. I mean, I'll put like little markers on certain parts of the page to let me know what I'm going to be doing in that specific part. I basically try to do as much in the writing process as I can possibly do before I actually go to record. So once I'm there, that's all I have to really worry about.
So the music in this album is a lot of synthesizers and stuff like that. Oddly enough, I don't think I heard of a lot of guitar. which is odd for a metal album in a way.
It's really strange. Well, the weird thing is, like, as much of a metalhead as I am, I mean, my biggest influences to this day are still Dissection and Bathory. I wouldn't really so much call it metal. There's a huge, black metal obviously is the foundation of the whole thing. But my friend Karma, one of my best friends for years, who lives in Sweden, when I was trying to figure out what I could call this music, like what was a way to categorize it, she started calling it neo-death. So that's kind of what I've been sticking with. I think it's fitting. The music, actually, I didn't do any of the music on this one. Like, all of the songs were given to me by producers who make these instrumental tracks, who normally work with hip-hop artists, but they wanted to kind of see what I could do with it. So I just compiled the best ones that I had around, and that's how Desolate turned out.
Now, did you do had you done hip-hop music before?
Yeah, I did hip-hop for about 2 years, and what's really strange about it is it all started as a joke. I think we were talking about that before we went on the air. It all started as a joke that got really, really out of hand. And I kind of went with it. I mean, it was something I could do on my own. I didn't really have to worry about anybody else. I could just sort of, work on my own at my own pace and get things done. And I went for about 2 years doing that, but I realized that, and as much as I'll always love hip-hop, like, I'm a 90s hip-hop kid through and through, but the scene now is just not a place where I can artistically grow or flourish. It's too much of a competition. And I don't write music to compete with anybody. I do it because that's the only way I can keep myself sane and able to, like, function normally in society, I guess.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about, like, you talked about how you got the tracks and stuff, the music from various producers. Are these people that, how did you meet these people like that?
Well, some of them I met through YouTube, of all places. Guys upload their stuff on YouTube all the time for people to check out and sort of do with it what they will. It helps them get their name out there. And I know the guy that produced Whited Scion, Purple Hex. I met him through YouTube, and we're actually going to be working together on my next one again. I was so happy with the instrumental he gave me for Whited Scion. Amor Exidium, that song was done by a friend of mine named Corey King from Knoxville, and it was literally last minute. Like, I got that from him the day before I went in the studio, and it was just so good. I was like, I have to use this somehow, so... but yeah, most of these guys, with the exception of one, and that's only because I've never had any real interaction with him outside of him being like, yo, you did a good job with those songs. Most of these guys are friends of mine, like the guy that did True Virgo, Eric Dingus. I've been knowing him for years. Joe Grizzly, the guy who recorded the instrumental, created it for Lost, which is the last song on Desolate. I've known Joey since about 2006, and he's kind of like me in a lot of ways. We both started out in the metal scene and the hardcore scene, and then kind of ended up where we are now. So it was cool to work with him, and he's actually going to be a huge contributor on the next one as well. So
this is part one of a trilogy in this kind of style.
Absolutely.
Cool. And so when you go to do this live, I imagine you kind of do it more in the hip-hop style, right? Where there's like, you take the tracks and you have them, and then you do that. Is that am I getting that right? Okay.
Yeah, that's totally how it is live, that's how it is now live. This show I've got coming up Friday, usually with what we'll do is get the set list programmed out on the jump drive, bring a laptop, plug it in, run it through the PA, and it's pretty simple to set up.
Were you part of the punk show that they had over here at the Boone Building during Sea Time, or were you?
I was supposed to be, but I ended up not playing because I developed a really intense upper respiratory infection before that show happened, and there was I could barely speak, let alone sing, so I just had to cancel.
spilled water all over myself.
My upper respiratory got Rance flustered.
Now, are you? You've got a show coming up Friday, right?
Yes.
And who all's going to be a part of that?
The show is me, Death Trip, who is probably my favorite punk band of the last 10, 15 years. They're from, well, I mean, they've got members from all over. The Tri-Cities is kind of their home base, but they've got guys in Big Stone Gap, some guys at Johnson City, Kingsport. Cemetery Filth, who are some of my best friends in the world. They're a death metal band from Tennessee. They're going to be playing too. And my friend Kevin Howard is opening the show. So it's a really unique bill. I'm just going to admit it was very selfishly booked. I just wanted to do a show full of bands I wanted to see.
Now, Kevin, he's going to, when he opens for you, is he going to be doing his banjo music, right? Okay. And he's a great banjo player. But I hear he's got a new album that he's working on here soon that's going to be a double LP, I think, right?
Yeah, he's been telling me about that, and I mean, I'm sure he's played some of the songs live when I've seen him the past couple of times. I can't wait to own that double LP because Kevin, to me, is one of the most sincere guys doing this kind of music, and there's something about the way Kevin does it that just enthralls me. And for him to be doing a double LP of his own music and have that coming out, I think that's spectacular. I can't wait to hear it. I think it's gonna be, Kevin, him, probably one of the most humble, modest guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think he realizes what a success this will probably end up being for him.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to kind of be like, "Ha, told you."
Talking a little bit more about your album, what exactly do you have in the works for your next project?
The next album, which is going to be part 2 of the series, is called Laudate Reverentia, which in Latin translates to praise and worship. And Desolate was the first part of the trilogy because it was more of the story of how I came to be the way that I am. And Laudate is more me being here in the moment. Like, being exactly, just laying it out completely as to, like, who I am as a person. Things of that nature. Like, it's almost, Laudate has almost been like a diary for me with writing this one. So, it's going to be much darker than Desolate. It's a lot more, I guess the word some of the people who've heard some of the material have called it uncomfortable to listen to, which I'm fine with that because I like, I would rather do something that's uncomfortably honest than, do something that's comfortable to listen to, but I'm not being myself on it. So,
and do you find that more people are starting to get into like ambient and electronic music in this area, like in this general region?
I think so. I've definitely noticed a change lately. Like there's definitely been some sort of paradigm shift with it all, because I think people are realizing, one, when they go into it, some people are like, wow, this is really easy to do. If I just get a little equipment, I can start making music like this. But the more some of them do it, they realize what an art form it actually is.
Yeah.
And it's like a guy we both know, Martin Kilgore.
Oh yeah.
One of probably the most outstanding instrumentalists. Like, some of the things he sent me with the music he creates just blows my mind that somebody like that is around here and doing that. And I would like to see more Martins popping up, not in the sense of them doing the exact same style that he does and ripping him off, but I would like to see more people popping up around here who are just really kind of doing their own thing. I think that's a lot of what you're doing with your music as well.
Well, thank you, man. And I think that it's really interesting. I think that what's really fascinating to me is that it seems like, even though, people are kind of drifting away in the younger generation from acoustic-based music in the mountains, the lyrical content has a strong connection to more traditional music. And what I mean is, like, you look at it, it seems like the murder ballad is still
Yes.
very popular, and you can't get away from songs about Jesus and things of that nature. It just seems like there's something in the air around here that really influences the content of the music, even if the style and the way it's made changes.
I'd say that is just living in the South overall. This is a really, for people who don't live in the South, they don't realize that this is a very magical, and I don't mean that in a funny way at all. This is a very magical place. Like, there's some sort of vibe here, especially in Appalachia. Like, I can say, you just mentioned the lyrical content. A lot of what I listen to comes directly from influences that were passed down to me from my uncle Elmo, rest his soul, he passed away in 2009, and my mother. They introduced me to the blues at a very young age, and there are certain blues songs by Howlin' Wolf, Latin and Hopkins, Blind Lemon Jefferson that are, the lyrical content is more horrifying than anything you would ever hear in a metal song. I do think that translates. A lot of it comes from the legitimate hardship of living around here.
Have you ever listened to Dark Was the Night by Blind Willie Johnson?
Oh, yes. Lord, yes.
I think that song, if I'm not mistaken, I think that when they sent the first, I might be wrong, I think it was the first Voyager spacecraft that had the message carved on it that they wanted to send to like extraterrestrials if they happened to find it. And they included a recording of that song on there as The Sound of Humanity. And I think it's so cool that that's the song they picked out to represent us in space.
That was a different time. I'm sure today it would be something like Friday by Rebecca Black or something like that. They're like, we want to welcome all of you visitors down here. Just come on, have a good time with us. That's someone creative at NASA who was like, you know what, we're going to send up some filthy Delta Blues for these aliens to check out. Maybe they won't want to come down here.
All right, what are the other two songs that you got for me this evening that you wanted to play?
The other two songs are By the Water, which it was the first single I released from Desolate before it came out. The whole album is very personal to me, but that one in particular is a very personal one, and the other one is True Virgo, which honestly this Friday night is going to be the first time I've ever played True Virgo live. It may actually be the first and last time. It's, of all the songs to do, that was the hardest one to record by any means, just because of the content of it. Mm-hmm. And so those are the two that we're coming in here with. A lot of people haven't really spoken too much about True Virgo, which is, it's always weird, like, and I know you can relate to this as a musician, when like there are songs that mean a great deal to you, but those are often, and there's like nothing wrong with this, but those are often the least talked about songs on your record.
Yeah,
it's like people will be like, they come up to me and they're like, dude, I love that song, By the Water, and I'm like, oh, thanks, cool, thanks. And they're like, I love the song Desolate, and I'm thinking, man, the title track was just kind of something I threw together probably about 2 days before I went in there. Mm-hmm. But that's happened a few times before, and it's cool. I appreciate the fact that people listen that intently. But yeah, I definitely wanted to play True Virgo tonight, just because that for everything that Desolate was about and everything that Laudate will be about, and probably future material, that song kind of just sets the tone for all of it.
Great. All right, well, we got to take a quick break, and then we're going to play these two songs, Thorne, By the Water, and True Virgo, both from the album Desolate. Desolate. Desolate.
Desolation.
And then I guess after that we'll probably be about out of time. So where can people find this album?
You can find it on my Bandcamp page, which is Thorne, Thorne, 218.bandcamp.com, and it's a free release, so it's available anywhere. And also pretty much the whole album is on YouTube, so if you just want to listen to it there, you just type in Thorne and it should take you to most of the material.
And will you have any physical copies at some point in the future?
Hopefully soon, man. I'm really hoping soon. The reason I don't have any is honestly because I've never been too keen at this point in my journey on charging anything for my music. But at some point, I know I'm probably going to have to. So, hopefully soon.
Okay.
Hopefully soon.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having
me. And it's been great. And also, if you're listening tonight and you are a musician from this area, I would love to have you on the show and talk to you about your releases. I think it's very important to lift each other up and to
Absolutely.
talk about the things that people here in the mountains are creating, because it's not always what we expect it to be. And that being said, I think that there are a lot of musicians around here who are maybe making very different kinds of music from what we normally associate with Appalachia. And those are the ones that I want to try to especially talk about. So if you have music you want to send to me here on The Basement, you can just look us up on Facebook, The Basement on WMMT, or you can email WMMTbasement@gmail.com. Thorne, thank you very much for being here tonight, buddy. I appreciate
you, brother, very much.
Here we go.
It's all that I'm failing to cope with myself. It's just that I can't see any trace of hope. My last sunrise into life. It's nothing but a memory. A memory of the lights on the
yours looked better on your head than it looked on mine. I swear I saw the signs, but I was lost in the dream. Lost in the dream. Can't tell reality from my own design. This whole world is a lie, and my life has been a way to get by. I think about it all the time, here in the dark, while the rest of them sleep just fine. You must have been a star, because I've only ever seen you at night, illuminated like the moon by my side. I saw you standing by the water. You wear the mourner's veil on your face for a dying earth. You've worn it so long you can't see your worth. But I see it by the water. 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 Trace of hope. It's nothing but a memory. And how you stood when the rest of them fled like thieves. How we were called by the dark, then not to be set free. But you're a child of the other light, and that will never change. So I wait here alone and see the morning star glow brighter day by day. You must have been a star, 'cause I've only ever seen you at night, illuminated like the moon by my side. I saw you standing by the water. I saw you standing by the water. You wear the mourner's veil on your face for a dying earth. You've worn it so long you can't see your worth. But I see it by the water. 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 I see it by the water.
last calls. Take me home on the blackest ocean waves. It's easier to wash away than it is to say. I love you.
The line between here and you is the hardest.
I love you.
And the path I have chosen is the darkest. The valley lights, the reservoir at night. I still see them when I close my eyes. I still see them when I close my eyes. I still feel your hands inside my vest. You said you heard my heartbeat. I told you it was dead since my brother died. You refused to believe. I have fallen to the depths of your deepest sea. If this is self-abuse, just let me bleed. Once the blood leaves me, I'll try to leave you. We can both pretend. We can both pretend this never happened. My ghosts weren't meant for you to see. To hold in your arms and try to free. You can't save me. I know I'm nothing more than your fallen state. A bridge between then and happiness that awaits you. I have fallen.